works his way in front. At the back is Ginnivan. Ginnivan needs a good spin and he gets it. I don't know what he ate for dinner last night, but the pub grub worked.
Now Deer's about to fly here, front of the pack. Couldn't quite get the fly. Ginnivan off the crumb. A roller and a ripper goal. He's at the pub having a drink.
Ginnivan to finish it. Yes, he does. And he drinks the stubby. And he sucked it back. And he said, stick that up your ass.
What was that? The centre of attention, the centre of all action. Jack Ginnivan there. Port Adelaide and Hawthorn meeting in the Friday night semi-final. Inside the four walls here, Jordan Lewis. Hello.
Hey, Jared.
Jack Reebok.
Gentlemen.
Righto, Jack Ginnivan. What say you?
Am I going to be the reasonable one? And he's looking back at his career.
Do you want me to tell you what I think you would do? You would have had him up against the wall.
In old Jack Rewalt over there.
You would have had him up against the wall.
I think anything that Mitch has done this year, and a lot has been spoken about to celebrate, everything he is happy to let them go as long as they're not disrespectful. And as soon as they cross the line, for me, then you bring in people who don't want to be a part of it. You bring in your teammates who have to ask questions. You bring in your coach who has to ask questions. And for me, that is just a waste of time for those players and people, and that annoys me. So I'm happy for any player to do anything, but as soon as it impacts the team, as soon as it's disrespectful to the opposition, and as soon as it impacts your teammates, for me, that is overstepping the mark.
All right, what were your parameters, Jack?
Well, we used to live by the theory of wide paddocks, strong fences. So allowing people to be themselves, but when they went to those boundaries and crossed them, which didn't happen a lot, sort of from 2017 onwards with the Tigers, that like there's the team values of what it is. My thing with Jack Ginnivan is I feel like people will tell him, as much as you tell him not to do something, I feel like that's enticing him to want to do it. Like he's quite an antagonistic person, and I mean, Collingwood people loved him last year, and all of a sudden they hate him just because he's put a different set of colours on, and they defended him last year, and now they bemoan him. So I would urge caution for Jack to think about. We've just had Luke Bruce in here. This is the biggest game in Luke Bruce's career outside of grand final. He's playing game 300. Jack doesn't want to be the one to do something silly that takes the spotlight away from that. Because every action that you have, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, ugly, will have some sort of repercussion. Now, that can be positive or it can be negative. He's walking a very fine line where if he chooses to do something that's out of the ordinary, he will have to accept the consequences of that. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be a negative consequence, but you walk that walk, it's a very fine line.
The Port Adelaide side of things. So Zach Butters is going to play with damaged ribs to some degree. That much is fairly clear. So this is finals time and you're out with a target on you.
Why you answer for you again?
No. I think there's conversations like this that happen every year, and there's certain things as a team, if you are hell-bent on making a prelim final, that you can do within the rules of AFL. Now, we see it happen every week. Max Gawn gets smashed every single week by opposition teams because they understand the importance that he places in the team. So I'm looking at Hawthorn, and it is a free hit. You understand that he's sore. He's come out and said that he's sore, so it's all out there. So why wouldn't you, within the rules of the game, target Zach Butters and make it hard for him? He's their best player. So absolutely test out to see if his ribs are okay. Fairly, that's okay. But if they don't, I'd be disappointed. I'd be really disappointed.
What about you, Jack?
Look, I'm of the opinion that I think there's potential certain players that can do this for Hawthorn. I wouldn't want a whole pile on, because I think the Hawks have been doing so much right.
It never takes away from your actual role, and it is all about balance. And that is the role, I think, of the coaches, if they decide to go down this path, to make it known that, hey, don't go out of your way, but if he's near you,
go out of your way.
If he's near you, test it out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
and do you know what? If there's a prelim final on the line, big stakes. You don't want to leave this game, and Zach Butters has 30, 35 touches and has a big say in this game, and you go, What if?
got him.
What if?
Yeah, look, I think Sicily's probably one that can do it and can handle it because the last thing Hawthorn want, they want a free-flowing out game that's expansive and they use the width of the Adelaide Oval. They don't want to turn it into a scrum. They don't want little spot fires cropping up here where younger players can lose their head in a final when they have a young list and then all of a sudden the focus goes from playing hockball to all of a sudden fighting. So I reckon Sicily's the one. If Sicily wants to go after him, go after him. Now, he's hot-headed, but he's also got that little bit of brute in him. A little bit of what old mate had in him sitting across the table here is that he can probably keep his head. He can keep his head, but I don't want to see them prioritise playing the great game of footy they are in the biggest game of football that they've had this season to go and try and go after Zach Butters. Beat them on their merits, and if he's there, take an opportunity.
I've got one player should do it before the first bounce. Jack Ginnivan, as he's walking.
Oh my God!
As he's walking to position.
I'll be looking at Lloyd Meek. Imagine running into Lloyd
As
Meek.
he's walking to the position, run into him.
Yeah.
Jack.
And you know
don't
what,
worry,
Robert?
Jack.
He'd be on.
Don't worry, Jack.
I like when you've said that. I think Ginnivan would be thinking the exact same.
Oh, exactly. I was thinking it when you were telling me your story.
Lloyd Meek, if he got him though, wow.
Get anyone more.
The pressure cooker that is going to exist on Friday night. It's hard to miss the contrast between the two teams, isn't it?
It's hard to be here in Melbourne and understand what's going on in the Adelaide media and everything that surrounds this game. I think this has been a 4 to 5 year pressure cooker. So you talk about the coach, you talk about a side that 3 of the last 4 years have finished top 4 and haven't made a prelim. So it is. 2021 they lost the prelim. So they haven't made a grand final in that period of becoming top 4. There is so much riding on this game, and a lot has been made about their performance last week, the Ken Hinkley factor, and we spoke last week. Ken Hinkley can only do so much. He can get you into that position. Now he's up to the players to perform in big games.
Did they let him down last week?
I thought Hon Francis was good. Butters obviously injured. I thought Rosie, for me, was the one. He's the captain of this football side, so he would have been hurting all week. So let's see the response on Friday night against a really tough opposition when your season is on the line and your coach's job is potentially on the line.
Yeah, this is all mindset coming into this game. So they have to park the fact that they got walloped last week. So we used to talk about A-Tom's been, Emma Murray's been spoken a bit about, through the Richmond years and is now doing some work with the Swans. But the A is the attributes and the B is the bullshit. They can't think about the situation that Ken is in. They can't think about last week. They can't think about Zach Butters' ribs. But this is the mindset of a good team. You've got to park the bullshit. You've got to park all that sort of stuff because if you believe it, it's real. If you don't believe it and you can park it, it's not there for the 3 hours that you're going out to play football. They can bounce back, but it is going to take an almighty effort in a 2-team town with the best team, the biggest team in town out of it, Adelaide, that they are heaping on. You can't think about the fact that Ken might lose his job if we don't win. You think about that, it's real.
Righto. Do you think Charlie Dixon will or should hold his spot? He's been a warrior for Ken Hinkley for a long, long time. Does Ken give him another crack and just say last week was a bad game?
Not over Todd Marshall for mine.
Has to play.
Not over Todd Marshall. Port Adelaide have been, in my eyes, too tall for the whole year. We know Jeremy Finlayson's out. Last week they were too small. And Charlie Dixon, an absolute warrior of the AFL and has fought through injuries and is that big brute. I looked at him last week and I thought, he's close to the end. But I would play Todd Marshall. I just think that gives you a more mobile forward line. It gives you more of a chance of winning in my eyes. And I don't like saying that because Charlie Dixon's been there for the highs and the lows of that Port Adelaide Football Club. And if they do win this week, you want those players to experience some sort of success. But if you put a gun to my head, it'd be Todd Marshall.